Hey, how you guys doing out there today? This is Stefan Jimenez from the RotoBeast team, and I'm here to present you our NBA picks for Wednesday, November 1st. As always, if you want to watch our full video, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel at RotoBeast. And if you want to play the actual lineups as we're playing, please visit our website at www.rotobeast.net. Alright, so tonight was a frustrating night for me. Finally snapped our five-day win streak. Avery Bradley, he had a horrible shooting night for me against the Lakers, and I lost by anywhere from 3 to 5 points. But, just because he had a bad night doesn't mean that he wasn't the right play. And, all the numbers were pointing to him, and he was in a great matchup. Just didn't work out for us, but hey, we're back at it again today. Let's get this money again, and so let's jump into this slate. It's a big slate, 12 games. I'm just going to kind of break down the couple of games I'm going to really be focusing on, and then probably my top 6 teams that I really like on this slate, and the top 6 players pretty much at each position. So we'll start with the games. The first game is going to be probably the highest scoring game by far, is the Suns at Washington. This has the highest implied total of 226. Washington is favored by 12 points. So the only problem with this game is it's not the pace, it's not the amount of points that are going to be scored. It's going to be if this game is going to stay close, where Washington is going to be able to keep their starters in. We just seen the other night they just absolutely demolished the Sacramento Kings, and none of their starters played the fourth quarter. And it really hurt us, and that can be another case against the Suns at home tomorrow night. But I think this game is going to be very high scoring. Washington does look really good. If you feel they can, the Suns could keep it somewhat close. You definitely got to like both sides of this game. Next, we'll move on to the Timberwolves at New Orleans. This has the second highest total with the 224 implied total. New Orleans is favored by 1.5, so this is projected to be a pretty close game. It's going to be back and forth. I really like both sides of this game. There's some good pieces that we could target. Next, we'll talk about the Pacers at Cleveland. This has the third highest implied total on the slate at 217. Cleveland is favored by 10. I know Cleveland's favored by 10, but Cleveland is just bad, and I don't know if they're going to be able to blow out this Pacers team, even though this Pacers team isn't very good. We'll see what happens, with the Cavs. LeBron James is a prime play tomorrow. I know he's tired of losing and tired of these struggles, and he's going to put forth the best effort he can to get his team back on track. Next, we'll talk about the Raptors at Denver. This is the fourth highest implied total game on the slate with a 214 total. Denver is favored by 1, so this game is projected to be close. One thing I will note about this game is I don't really care for teams going into Denver in the altitude. I know you may think, oh, that's not true, but in baseball, it's true, and in football factors, it's true, and I really believe it's true in basketball as well. So I don't know how high I really am on the Raptors, but against Denver, who's a fast-paced team, you do gotta like the Raptors a little bit. And then I like Denver, at home. They're a good team. It's 1 point spread in this game, so it's going to be back and forth. So I do like both sides. The last game that we'll talk about to target is the Rockets at New York. This has the fifth highest implied total on the slate with a 213 projection. Houston's favored by 5, so this game is projected to stay within reach. There's good pieces on both sides of this game. That we'll get to in a second. So we'll move on to the top teams that we're going to target. First, we'll talk about the Wizards. They're going against the Suns. They have the highest implied total of 119 points projected tomorrow. This is by far the most, 5 points higher than any other team. The Wizards actually get a 6% pace bump as well. We talk about pace in NBA DFS because pace equals more opportunities and more shots and rebounds. So you always want to target the pace-up games. So Washington looks really, really good tomorrow. Like I was saying earlier, the only thing is just hopefully, the Suns can keep it somewhat relatively close. And I think if they are, it's going to have to be because Booker has a big night. Because Booker has a big night. Next, we'll talk about the Cavaliers. They have the second highest implied total of 114 points versus the Pacers. They get a 3% pace bump as well. The Cavs are a team we don't know. We don't know, exactly what we're gonna get night in, night out from them. We know LeBron's gonna have a good game, and that's about it. A lot of the rest is unknown. But they have the second highest implied total tomorrow, so you really got to look at them hard. Next, we'll talk about the Pelicans. They have the third highest implied total of 113 projected points versus the Timberwolves. This is actually a slight pace down game for the Pelicans, but not very much, not nothing to worry about at all. It's pretty much their average pace that they play on. The Pelicans, Davis and Cousins have been playing very well together. Holiday's been playing good. I really like the Pelicans tomorrow. And then on the other side of the ball, we'll talk about the Timberwolves. They have the fourth highest implied total on the slate at 111 projected points versus the Pelicans. And they actually get a pace bump. They have to get a 2% pace up bump for them. So they look good as well. So the next we'll talk about the 76ers. They're a young team. They're really, really good. I think that they're going to be, a team to be reckoned with in the future. They have, some really, really good guys on their team, young guys that have just been putting in work. They have the fifth highest implied total at 109 projected points versus Atlanta. And they actually get a slight pace bump as well. And then the last team that we'll really focus on is the Rockets. They have the sixth highest implied total on the slate at 109 projected points versus the versus the New York Knicks. This is actually a slight pace down game for them. But the Rockets, they're a team that we know put up fancy points. And I really like them tomorrow. And a couple other teams that I will just note that you could kind of, take a look at guys from there if they have some good value or, it just fits in your lineup. I also like the guys from the Denver Nuggets. I like the guys from the Phoenix Suns in the pace-up game against the Wizards. I do like the Toronto Raptors. Like I was saying against Denver, I think it is going to be a close game. And lastly, I like, some guys from the Boston Celtics as well. So those are the teams that I'm going to really be focusing on this slate. And now we'll get to my top, 6, 7 picks from each position. So if you don't, get a pen and paper so you can write them down, kind of use this as your player pool for tomorrow. And, I do this the night before. So if there's a couple of value plays that come out tomorrow, I'm sorry that I don't have that on here. I'll try to comment below and, get you those plays throughout the day if I feel a guy's a must start. So we'll start at point guard. It's obvious, John Wall, highest implied total on the slate versus the Suns. He looks really, really juicy tomorrow. It's just a matter if he's going to play his full allotment of minutes or not. Then we got Derrick Rose. I know Derrick Rose isn't no kind of sexy name. It's somebody you don't really want to put in your lineup, but he's fairly priced, and if he's back in the starting lineup for the Cavs, the guy was putting up decent numbers the first couple games. Next, we'll talk about Drew Holiday for the Pelicans. The guy's been good. I've been playing him a lot, and he's been really low owned. And, I like Drew Holiday. He hits threes. He plays defense. He gets a lot of assists to Cousins and Davis. So there's a lot to like about him. Jeff Teague for the Pacers against Cleveland. Cleveland has been getting torched by the wing players, by point guards and shooting guards. Jeff Teague just exploded tonight for like 50 fantasy points. And I could definitely see him having a great game against the Cavs. Ben Simmons for the 76ers. He's one of the young guys I was telling you about. He's really good. He fills up the stat sheet. And it's encouraging when you hear guys say, oh, I think I could play better than I already am. So you got to like Ben Simmons. The only problem with him is his price is pretty high up there. But he looks in a very juicy matchup tomorrow. We'll talk about James Harden. James Harden's James Harden. We know what we're going to get from him. The thing about it this year, I feel like his stats have been down a little bit. He hasn't been taking as many shots. But he can get a triple-double any night, and as long as Chris Paul's out, and especially if Eric Gordon continues to be out, the guy's being asked to do a lot, and he's one of those guys that will try to do a lot if he gets a chance to. So you got to like James Harden on the higher end. Jameer Nelson, the guy's, he's been playing really good. They signed him a week ago, started giving him minutes. The veteran's just been putting up points for the Pelicans. Jameer Nelson's a great cheap option, good GPP play. And lastly, we'll talk about T.J. McConnell. If Redick is out again, McConnell's been getting extra run, and he's been really, really good. So just keep an eye on that Redick news tomorrow. Next, we'll move on to shooting guard, Bradley Beal. And the up-tempo game against the Suns, you got to really like the Washington Wizards. J.R. Smith on the low end for the Cavs. He's back in the starting lineup. He's never going to do nothing extraordinary for you, but he's going to get you some points, and he will help you fit in some bigger names. Etuan Moore for the Pelicans. The guy's been, he's been really good. He went off the other night and scored, I think, 30 scoring points. So he showed his upside. He's getting plenty of minutes with the Pelicans. He looks very juicy tomorrow. Next, we'll talk about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, he hasn't had none of those exploding games where he's went off this season yet, but I think it's coming. Jimmy Butler, he fills up the stat sheet. He gets you those defensive points with blocks and steals, 3 points on Fanduel now. We got to like that. Jared Bayless. Jared Bayless has been playing very well. Keep an eye on him on the lower end. Eric Gordon, if he comes back for the Houston Rockets, he's been getting a ton of shots, and Eric Gordon's a scorer, and he's going to continue shooting whether he's making them or missing them. Getting tons of usage. And then you got Dwayne Wade, a guy on the cheaper end for the Cavs. He took a night off. He came back the next night. He played very well. They didn't play today, so he's rested. I can see him having a decent game tomorrow. And then Will Barton, the baller. Will Barton doesn't get enough minutes for the Nuggets. I really like Will Barton a lot. His problem always has been not getting the minutes. When he gets the minutes, he puts up the fantasy points. Tomorrow he's in a nice matchup against the Raptors. So I definitely will be looking at him a little bit. Next, we'll move on to the small forwards. We'll start off with Kelly Oubre. Going against the Phoenix Suns. The up-tempo game. Oubre, he fills up the stat sheet. He gets blocks, steals. His threes have been going down for him. So he looks very solid tomorrow. LeBron James, second highest implied total on the slate. I don't know anybody I could really trust on the Cavs, but I know what I'm going to get from LeBron James, and he's probably the safest person to go with on that team. Dante Cunningham, he's been playing minutes for the Pelicans for pretty cheap. He doesn't do nothing good, extra, great, but he does the little things, and he fills up the sheet, and that's what we're looking at. Andrew Wiggins, the kid's been on fire to start this season. He's a scorer. That's the thing about him is we want guys to kind of more fill up the stat sheet, but we know Wiggins, when his shots, going down, he could definitely put up the points. And I think he's, at a really, really fair price right now. Dario Saric, he's been starting with Redick out. The guy's cheap. If Redick's out again tomorrow and Saric is in the starting lineup, you pretty much might as well just lock him in. He's a big man. He gets rebounds. He gets blocks. He didn't do nothing special the other day when he started, but he still hit 5-6 times value, so we can't complain about it. And he had a bad game. Trevor Ariza for the Rockets. He gets those defensive stats. When he gets hot, he can knock down threes. Another guy on the Rockets I like as well at small forward is P.J. Tucker. He's kind of like the opposite other end of Ariza. The cool thing is they don't really take away from each other. They play a lot together. They put P.J. Tucker at the 4. So I like those guys. Next, we'll talk about power forward, Otto Porter. The guy got a monster contract in the offseason, and he's been paying up for it. He's been going off, and I haven't really played him much because I feel like he's a little bit overpriced, but he's been making the money on that price, and I'm going to have to start looking at him a little bit more. Kevin Love, he's been very consistent for the Cavs. He's almost a double-double lock every night. You got to like Kevin Love. Anthony Davis, the guy's good, plain and simple. He's getting almost 60 every single night. He's a solid cash game play. You know, you got Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson, he's getting solid minutes with the Timberwolves. We know Thibodeau likes to play his starters a lot, and, you know, Gibson's getting his run. Robert Covington for the Philadelphia 76ers, the guy, you know, when he can get hot, you know, he gets defensive steals. He's good. I just like the guy playing simple. He fills up the stat sheet. Ryan Anderson, ever since Gordon's been out, he's been getting tons more shots. And Ryan Anderson, he's been hitting his shots. And if Gordon's out again tomorrow, he looks like a great play again. Moving on to center, we'll start with Marcin Gortat for the Wizards. You know, going against the Suns, up tempo game. You know, he looks like he can have a really solid game tomorrow. Next, we'll talk about Tristan Thompson for the Cavs on the low. You know, he doesn't do nothing special, and he's not going to get you a 30, 40 fantasy point game very much. But for 3.5K on Fanduel, if you just want a cheap guy to get you value so you can pay up other spots, he looks like a solid play. DeMarcus Cousins, him and AD are playing great together, and they're both putting up monster fantasy points every night, so you got to look at him. Karl Anthony Towns, the young guy, he's a beast. You know, he's a beast. And, you know, I really like him tomorrow. He has a solid matchup going against New Orleans. It's going to be against the big guy, so they're going to need to play him. As long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, I think he's going to do work. Joel Embiid. Trust the process. The guy's good. I mean, even though he's only playing 28 minutes, I mean, he's getting you everything, and he's hitting value. So, you know, I'm going to keep going back to the well. And then the guy who's been the most surprising, Clint Capella. This guy's been good. He's hit 50 fantasy points multiple times this year. He's doing a little bit of everything. And that's what we like, you know, from our guys, when they're not scoring dependent so much. So, yeah. Hey, that's where I'm at for today. If I miss some people, or if there's just some people that you like, that you want my opinion on them, leave a comment below. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and I'll be back tomorrow, all right? All right, have a good one. Bye.